Good morning. So today we are going to discuss the leftover part of sequence stratigraphy, and this is the fourth lecture in the continuation of the sequence stratigraphy. Till now we have discussed the Walther's law of phases, the shoreline trajectory, the progradation, the retrogradation, aggradation, the incision, and the system tracks. What is normal regression, the forced regression, as well as the transgression. So sequence stratigraphy is basically the stratigraphy which is based on the sequences which are formed because of the rise and fall in sea level. So basically every sequence, depositional sequence, or every strata is determined by some controlling factors, that is the rise and fall in sea level or the static sea level changes, the tectonics, that is the upliftment and the subsidence of the area. Third, the accommodation space, which in turn is governed by the shoreline trajectory, the rise and fall in sea level, and the supply of sediment, which is controlled by the surface processes and the tectonics. So basically there are two things which controls that which geomorphic features will be formed or what depositional sequences will be formed. Number one is the supply of sediment or sediment availability, and second is the accommodation space. So finally these two things, they control that what will the shape, size and the nature of any depositional sequence, the supply of sediment and the accommodation space available. And these two things are controlled by static sea level changes, the climate and the tectonics. So we have considered that this is the complete cycle of the rise and fall in sea level. If you just look at it, from this place to this place, from A to B is the falling stage system track. From this B to C, that is the low stand system track. From this C to this point D, that is the transgressive system track. And from this point D to this point E is the high stand system track. So we can also divide the complete cycle into two, that from point A to point B, this is first, and from point B to point E, this is second. So we can say that point first is the falling limb and point second is the rising limb. So there are two limbs, the falling limb and the rising limb. We have discussed the sequences which are formed by falling limb, that is the FSST, falling stage system track, and also the start of the rising limb, that is the low stand system track, that we have discussed on last time. So if this is the shape of the basin, and in this shape of the basin, if this is the sea level first, now the sea level is falling, and the sea level is falling very rapidly from this point to this point. The fall in sea level is very rapid, that is the falling stage system track. So what changes will take place? Number one, the rivers, they will incise at the continental shelf, the rivers, they will incise. So here there will be erosion. And they will form the clinoforms like this, again like this, like this. Now the sea level has fallen up to this point B. Now in this situation, the sediments which are derived from the continental part by the various river system, and the rivers, they are already eroding their valleys also. There will be erosion on the continental shelf also. It means the supply of sediment is very high. where the accommodation space is continuously decreasing because the sea level is falling, and that has fallen from point 1 to point 2. The sediments will not be deposited here because of the instability, because of the slope gradient. So they will bypass this region, and they will be deposited here in the form of basin floor fan. Again they will form here the clinoforms and the low stand wedge. When from this point first to second to third, that is the situation of low stand system tract, means the sea level is rising, but the rise in sea level is less than the supply of the sediment. And in this situation, because the sea level was exposed up to this point, it will, here there will be erosion, and here that will be deposited like this. So this is the subaerial unconformity, and this is the base of the low stand system tract, or their correlative conformity. So when the sea level starts rising from during this low stand system tract, means the sea level is rising from second to first, how the deposition will take place? The sediments will be deposited here, and then the clinoform, then again here like this, again here like this. In the falling stage system tract there was erosion, again there was progradation. In this low stand system tract, on the continental shelf there is agradation, and this is progradation. And the sediments which will bypass this, they will be deposited here in the form of again basin floor fan. With from this point third to this point fourth, the sea level is rising, and the rise in sea level is much more than the supply of sediments. It means the supply of sediment is limited, whereas the accommodation space available for the deposition of this sediment is continuously increasing. In this situation, the sediments will be deposited like this. This is the first stage of rising sea level, and this is known as transgressive surface. When the sea level is rising, it will again rework the sediments deposited here in the continental shelf part during low stand system tract, and this is known as revinement surface. So basically this revinement, R-E-V-I-N-E, the revinement surface, basically they are nothing but they are the reworking sediments on the continental shelf when the sea level was rising. So sea level starts rising, this is transgressive surface. This transgressive surface is the base of transgressive system tract. The area is wider, accommodation space is high, and the sediments are low. So a thin veneer of sediments are deposited, and this thin veneer of sediments which are deposited are known as condensed sequence. They are known as condensed sequence. Condensed sequences, they are also characterized by the fauna and flora, and they are very important in dating the sequences, especially the transgressive system tract. And they are very, very useful not only for the geologists, but they are very, very useful in petroleum industry, the content sequences. So again, during this, when the sea level was rising during this transgressive system tract, there is A gradation as well as there is progradation, because the sediments they are moving towards land. So transgressive system tract is characterized by the A gradation because thickening is taking place, and further the sediments they are continuously moving towards land. So they are characterized by the retrogradational sequences as well as they are characterized by the A gradational sequences. A time will come when the sea level is maximum. This is maximum flooding surface. Maximum flooding surface is the end of transgressive system tract, and this is the start of high stand system tract. Okay. So the last is the high stand system tract. This is the falling stage system tract. Basin floor, clinoforms, wedge, the progradation. Again the low stand system tract, the floors and the progradation. Again the transgressive system tract. The A gradation as well as the retrogradation. And at the top, that is the, from this point to this point is transgressive system tract, and then the last is high stand system tract when the sea level was high. In this transgressive system tract, again there is A gradation and again there is progradation. The sediments they will be deposited over the transgressive system tract. So this is high stand system tract. And after this high stand system tract, you can see that again the sea level starts falling, and that is the forced regression. The shoreline is shifting towards ocean because the sea level is falling, and the fall in sea level was much more higher than the rate of sedimentation. So again here there will be erosion, and then there will be start of next cycle of the falling stage system tract and the low stand system tract. It means there are few surfaces, few sequences. Number one, the sequence boundary number 1, and second is sequence boundary number 2. Third is revinement surface. Fourth is transgressive surface. Fifth is maximum flooding surface. What is sequence boundary number 1? Sequence boundary number 1, that indicates the erosion on the continental shelf. Sequence boundary number 1 indicates the erosion on the continental shelf as well as their correlative conformity. This is sequence boundary number 1. It is characterized by the wedge and the basin floor fan. Sequence boundary number 2, that is also explains the erosion on the continental shelf, but there is no incision into the river system. in sequence boundary number 1, there will be incision into the river system, whereas in sequence boundary number 2, there is no incision into the river system, but they were characterized by the A gradation into the river valley. The revinement surface, when the sea level starts rising, that is the reworking of the previous sediments on the continental shelf, that is the reworking of the clinoforms. Then the transgressive surface, this is the first indication of the rise in the sea level, and the MFS, that is the maximum flooding surface, the maximum extent of shoreline towards land. So, high strength system tract is capped within sequence boundary number 2 and the maximum flooding surface. The transgressive system tract is capped within maximum flooding surface and the transgressive surface. The low strength system tract is capped between transgressive surface and the sequence boundary number 1. And the falling stage system tract is capped within the sequence boundary number 1 and the base of the sea, that is the regression surface. So these are various sequence boundaries, various sequence surfaces, which are very important in the sequence stratigraphy. The sequence boundary number 1, the sequence boundary number 2, the revinement surface, the transgressive surface and the maximum flooding surface, and all these sequences, all these surfaces, they either they top some of the sequences, some of the system tract, or they are found at the bottom of some of the system tract. So there are 4 system tract: falling stage system tract, low strength system tract, transgressive system tract, and the high strength system tract. Some workers, they have clubbed the falling stage system tract and the low strength system tract into one only. Then they have classified only 3 types of system tract: the low strength system tract, the transgressive system tract, and the high strength system tract. And all these system tracts, they are capped within the sequence boundary number 1, the sequence boundary number 2, the transgressive surface, and the maximum flooding surface. So there are 4 major surfaces. Number 1 is sequence boundary number 1. Second is transgressive surface. Third is maximum flooding surface. And fourth is sequence boundary number 2. And there are 3 important system tracts. Number 1 is low stand system tract, then transgressive system tract, and then high stand system tract. So low stand system tract is located between sequence boundary number 1 and transgressive surface. Transgressive system tract is located between transgressive surface and the maximum flooding surface. High stand system tract is located between maximum flooding surface and sequence boundary number 2. And what para sequences we will get? This is A gradation, this is incision, this is progradation, and this is retrogradation. So we get HST and LST in this. We can make it further. A gradation, incision, in this direction progradation, in this direction retrogradation. HST and LST means in high stand system tract as well as in low stand system tract, there will be A gradation as well as there will be progradation. In transgressive system tract, TST, there will be retrogradation and there will be A gradation. And in the falling stage system tract, there will be incision or there will be degradation and there will be progradation. So low stand system tract, transgressive system tract and high stand system tract. These will be the surfaces and these will be the para sequences. We will have to always remember that in which system tract what surfaces we will get and what para sequences we will get. So good luck to all of you. I hope that you will be now good enough to make a better understanding of the sequence stratigraphy by viewing at all these 4 parts of the sequence stratigraphy. In next lecture I will come with the characteristics of the sediments, their texture, and what is the importance of the size of the sediments in sedimentology. Thank you and good luck.